Welcome to Finding Holiness, where we delve into timeless Torah wisdom, revealing the sacred in everyday moments. Join us on a journey to elevate your spirituality and discover holiness in every aspect of life. I'm your host, Rabbi David Kadosh, and together, let's embark on a path of spiritual exploration. I hope you enjoy this next episode. Okay. Tonight's Mishnah Shiur is Le'ilu Nishmat Jenny Bat Adela, who is the night Hayom Pekidat Shvuah. Following Arvit, there's some food that you can take with you to say some berachot. Le'ilu Nishmata. We'll say Hashkava after the Kaddish. Tonight, yeah. Tonight. Okay, we are on Perek Daled Mishnah Bet in Masechet Yevamot. Hakoneset Yevimto. A man who performs Yibum with his Yevama, but he does it within 3 months. We talked about yesterday that you have to wait 3 months after the husband dies to make sure she's not pregnant. But he did it within 3 months. Venimtset me'uberet, and she was found to be pregnant from the first husband. Ve'yalda, and she gave birth. Bizman she'avalad shel kayama, when the child is viable, meaning the child will live. Now Yotzi, the Yavam has to send away the Yevama. He cannot stay married to her because she's an erva to him. This child is viable. They shouldn't have done Yibum. V'chayavin bekorban, and they have to bring a korban hatat because it was an unintentional sin. V'im en avalad shel kayama, and if the child is not viable, he was not going to live and be sustained, yekayem, then he can keep the Yevama as a wife because she indeed required Yibum. Safek ben tish'a larishon, safek ben shiv'a la'aharon. Now this child that's born, what happens if we're not sure if it's a child from a 9-month pregnancy from the first husband or a 7-month pregnancy from the second husband? So viable children can either be born prematurely at 7 months or full at 9 months. But we're not sure which husband this came from. So the Mishnah says, Yotzi, the Yavam has to divorce the Yevama. He must send her away because she might be forbidden to him. Ve'avalad kasher, but the child is acceptable, meaning the child is not a mamzer because he was not born from any sinful relationship.
Is there a difference if it's a female or male?
No. Ve'chayavin ba'asham talui, and the couple has to bring a korban asham talui, which is a korban that is brought of someone who is unsure if he has to bring a korban hatat. So since this is a case of savek, maybe this is not my child, maybe I shouldn't have done this, so therefore they have to bring asham talui. All right, the next two Mishnayot deal with the monetary rights of a Yavam and a Yevama. Shomeret Yavam shenaflu la nechasim. If there was a woman who was waiting to have Yibum performed, she inherited property. What is done with this property or where does this property go to? Modim Bet Shammai u Bet Hillel. Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel agree shemocheret venotenet vekayam, that she may sell or give this property to whoever she wants. The transaction stands. It's her property, even though technically she's waiting for the guy to take her in Yibum, which normally a lot of that property would belong to her husband. No, this is hers, and she can buy and sell as she pleases. Now, Meta, if the woman who was waiting for Yibum died after the Yavam performed some sort of ma'amar with her, ma ya'asu biktubata, what should they do with her ketubah of the 100 or 200 zuz that is on ketubah, and as well as the property that she brought in? What do they do with the properties that enter and leave the marriage with her? So meaning, does it go to the Yavam or does her family inherit it? Bet Shammai Omrim, Bet Shammai says, Yachloku Yorsheh Habal im Yorsheh Av. Very, very simple. The heirs of the husband, which is his brother, the Yavam, divided with her father. They split it. There's $100,000, $50,000 to the Yavam, $50,000 to the woman's father. Bet Hillel Omrim, Bet Hillel says, no, the ma'amar that the Yavam made doesn't give him the rights to anything. So therefore, nechasim, if the properties that are hers, becheskatan. The properties that were there originally, becheskatan, they remain under the previous status. So now, if it belonged to the husband, it belonged to the husband. If it belonged to her, it belonged to her. Ketubah, the money in the ketubah, becheskat yorshei habal, it remains to the husband's heirs, which is him, the yavam, because the wife never had any claim to that money. So it goes back to the husband. There was never a divorce involved that she would get it. Nechasima nichnasim hayotzim ima, the properties that enter and leave the marriage with her, which are the melod properties, those are not divided like Bet Shammai said, but becheskat yosheav, they remain under the status of the father of this girl, because Bet Hillel holds that the ma'amar gives the yavam no rights to her property. Mishnah Dalet. Kenasa. Once the yavam marries her, performs yibum, harehi keishto lekol davar. She is his wife with regards to everything, full wife. Ubilvad shetehe ketubata al nichse ba'ala rishon. Except that if the ketubah needs to come and play, the property that's taken is taken from the first husband that passed away, and not from, which is his brother, and not from him. Mitzvah, if there's no property from the first husband, the Gemara talks about that I guess it would come from him. Mitzvah bagadol leyabem. The mitzvah is for the oldest brother to perform yibum. Lo ratza, if he didn't want to. Mehalachin al kol ha'achin, we go to all the brothers in order of birth to see who wants to perform yibum before we offer chalitza. Lo ratzu, if nobody wants to marry this girl, chozrin etzel gadol, we go back to the oldest one, ve'omrim lo, and we tell him, alecha mitzvah, the mitzvah is upon you, o halot o yabem. Either do chalitza or you do yibum. Okay, that's Mishnah Hey. Mishnah Vav. Tala bakatan ad sheyagil. Let's say the oldest brother said, listen, I think that my youngest brother would be very well suited for this girl. The problem is, he's young, he's 8 years old. Let's wait for him to get bar mitzvah, okay? And then he'll do the yibum. Or bagadol ad sheyavo medinat hayam. Or let's say the youngest brother was approached and he says, listen, I'm not good for this girl. My older brother should be for this girl, but he's out of town. He's in a different country doing business. Wait for him to come back, okay? And then he'll do the yibum. Or bacheres, or basote. Or let's say we have someone who is mentally incompetent, or a deaf mute, that maybe they will get better. Maybe as time goes on, they'll be healed, and they'll be good enough to, meaning, don't look at me, wait for those guys. And shomin lo, we don't listen to any of them. Ela omrim lo, we tell to that person, alecha mitzvah, the mitzvah is on you, o halos o yabem. It's up to you to perform either chalitza or yibum. Mishnah Zayin. Hacholetz leyevimto, a brother who performs chalitza with the yevama. Harehu keechad min ha'achin lanachala. He's like any brother with regards to inheriting the property of the dead brother, meaning they all divide equally. The guy can't say, since I'm the one that married the widow, I get more out of the dead brother's property. It doesn't work like that. He's equal. Ve'im yesh sham av, but if there's a father that's still alive, nechasim shelav, the property belongs to the father, because the father is considered a closer relative to the deceased son than the brother is. Hakoneset yevimto, a brother who marries his yevama, so he performs yibum, zacha b'nechasim shel achiv, he gains all the dead brother's property. So if you perform chalitza, like we said in the opening line of the Mishnah was, if you perform chalitza, okay, that doesn't give you any more of the dead brother's property. But if you marry her, if you perform yibum, okay, I think I misspoke it before. If you perform yibum, then yes, zacha b'nechasim shel achiv, you now get the property of the dead brother. Rabbi Yehuda argues and he says, Ben kach u ben kach im yesh sham av nechasim shelav. Rabbi Yehuda says, no. You don't get anything of the brother as long as there's a father alive. If there's a father alive, you don't get anything. If the father is not alive, then yes, you would get the property of the deceased brother. Hacholet le'evimto.
The boy's father or the girl's father?
The boy's father. Hacholet le'evimto. If someone performs chalitza with the Yevama, hu asur bikrovotea. He cannot marry any of her relatives who would have been forbidden to him had he performed yibum with this girl. Vehi asura bikrovav, and she similarly is forbidden to all of his relatives, even though technically they're not married. So the Gemara the Mishnah gives examples. Hu asur be'ima uv'em ima uv'em avia. He is forbidden to marry her mother, her grandmother on the mother's side, and her grandmother from the father's side. Ubebita, he can't marry her daughter. Ubat bita, or her granddaughter. Ubat bena, whether it's a daughter's daughter or the son's daughter. Ubachota bisman shi kayemet, and he can't marry her sister as long as this woman is still alive. The Torah tells us that a man cannot marry his wife's sister as long, even if they get divorced or whatever, as long as the wife is still alive. If the wife passes away, he can marry the wife's sister. The ha'achim mutarin, but the brothers of the man who performed chalitza, they're permitted to marry the chalutza's relatives. Well, that's not really a relation. They can get married. Vehi asura be'aviv uva avi aviv. She cannot marry his father and his father's father. Ubivno uven beno, and she cannot marry his son or his son's sons. Be'achiv uben achiv, or his brother and his brother's sons. Mutar adam bikrovat tzarat chalutzato. A man is allowed to marry the close relative of the chalutza's co-wife. We're back to the co-wives because he didn't perform any chalitza with her. Ve'asur betzarat kerovat chalutzato, but he's forbidden to marry the co-wife of the chalutza's relative. So this situation is as follows. If written over here, charted out. If the chalutza's, the one who performed chalutza, if her sister married his brother, okay, so that's allowed. But then that brother died, so that that chalutza's sister now falls to yibum, to the man who gave a chalitza to the sister. All right, so that man can't perform yibum with either the chalutza or the co-wife, because the chalutza's sister is forbidden to him for yibum in the second situation. So is the co-wife. A little bit complicated there. Okay, let's do one more. Hacholetz leyevimto. If someone performed chalitza with the woman, venasa achiv et achota, and his brother married her sister, so that's good. Vamet, and then died childless. Choletzet velo mityabemet. The sister performs chalitza with the remaining brother, but cannot be taken in yibum, like we learned in the previous Mishnah. V'chen hamegareshet ishto. So too, if someone divorced his wife, v'nasa achiv et achota, and his brother married her sister, vamet, and then died, harezu petura min chalitza min yibum. The sister is exempt both by chalitza and yibum with the remaining brother, because she's actually forbidden to him biblically as a sister of the wife. Okay, we'll conclude. He will say Kaddish and Hashkava.